Hey, this is Jade and Simone, and this is the Twinsetters podcast.
The Twinsetters podcast covers everything from girl talk to girl boss. We use our life experiences and passions to inspire purpose in others.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Twinsetters podcast for a new episode. As you guys know, we try to drop these every other week. So for those who have been hanging with us for this long, thank you. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. We're really excited to get into the conversation today because it's all about those moments where we didn't always trust our guts. And so we'll have a really, really good conversation today about those moments and how we got through them. But you guys know, as we kick off every episode, we have to tell you two things. One, what we're drinking, and our beauty fave of the week. So this week, I am not drinking alcohol as I usually do. Today we are on the bubbly sparkling water. My favorite is the grapefruit flavor because we just got too much stuff going on today. It's a little earlier in the day and it's a Monday that we're recording this. So, when I'm trying to be more orderly and business-like, I try to minimize the alcohol earlier in the day. But Jade, what are you drinking?
I am also trying to have a productive day, so I am already on my second cup of coffee because it is Monday and today has already been eventful. So yeah, it's 10:30 in the morning and I'm already on cup 2.
That sounds about right though, because you wake up pretty decently early, like 7.
Yeah.
And so, 10:30 is like the right time for another cup.
Yeah. And especially like the past day or two, Sarai has had her canines are coming in and she is teething so bad. Like she has had such a rough time the last like 24 to 48 hours, like sleeping and stuff. Like she's just been struggling, super fussy, just super, just like agitated, super clingy, like all the things. So it's been a rough like couple days for her, but she's at Gigi's house right now, so I get a little bit of a break for the day so I can get some stuff done.
Okay, well, hopefully she doesn't have to go through it for too much longer. I know the whole teething phase is not one that I miss. I do miss Kaya being a baby, but Lord, I did not miss those days at all.
Yeah, it's rough. We're in the trenches currently.
Well, good luck. You guys will get through it eventually.
Yeah.
Cool. So beauty faves of the week. I am talking about hair this week. I had braids in for the past, I would say 3.5 weeks. And so I took them out a few days ago and I did like a Bantu knot, really not expecting it to do much for my hair. But when I did the Bantu knot, I used the Emerge My Main BFF leave-in conditioner. And my hair, well, I did that. And then I also did a little Miel Organics mint and almond oil, but predominantly like this leave-in. And my hair was so soft and so just like nourished. And I was kind of in shock because I felt like other leave-ins, I don't feel like do like a styling aspect. It's always just like, I know I'm doing something good for my hair and my hair needs a leave-in. Yeah. But this one with just a little bit of that almond oil, oh my gosh, my hair was so nice and pretty. And the Bantu knots actually stretched out my hair to where I basically had like a blowout after brushing out like the waves that I had.
Yeah.
I let Kaya brush my hair a little bit and so it turned into a blowout. But that my hair was still soft. It was still like really nice. And like, it was like as if I had blown out my hair like before pressing it.
Yeah.
So huge fan of the Emerge leave-in. That is my jam. I've already used like 3/4 of this bottle. And it's cheap. It's like at Target for, I don't know, like $6, $7.
Yeah. That whole collection. Oh my God,
it's so good.
That whole collection is really like reasonably priced. I don't think any of the products go above $6 because they have like a leave-in, a shampoo, conditioner. All of it is silicone free. All of it is coconut oil free. Like that line is awesome. And so if you're looking for like a cheap collection to try that you can just grab at Target, that's one to choose. Because that leave-in is really good. And I like the deep conditioner too. For like a cheap option, it actually gets the job done.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Huge fan.
Yeah. So for my beauty fave this week, I have to talk about this product from 54 Thrones. Okay. I have been talking about this brand so much lately. I feel like a broken record / as if they're sponsoring me or something, but they're not sponsoring me. This is not sponsored. I legit ordered like over $200 worth of stuff from 54 Thrones a few weeks ago. And I just randomly found them. I was looking for just like Black owned beauty brands one day, and I was on essence.com and I was just scrolling through like their curated lists, and I found this brand 54 Thrones. And it just so happens that the brand is owned by a woman who's, I don't think she's that much older than us, Simone. I think she's got to be like in her late 20s, maybe early 30s, but she's from Austin, but I think one side of her family is Nigerian and her other side is Black American. And so she grew up in the States, but always had ties to her culture back in Africa. As I was scrolling through the website just to see what kind of products they had, I just loved all the imagery. Everything is just so like beautifully done, high quality. They look like luxury products. And I read the About Me on the website, and she really celebrates African beauty rituals. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is something that we should be talking more about. Like, because traditionally the beauty routines that we know, like in Western culture, is based off of the French way of doing skincare and beauty and the Korean skincare and beauty, like Asian, you know, so it's like we have these types of skincare kind of rituals that we do. But, you know, one thing that I really loved when I visited Morocco a few years ago was that I was getting to see like what are the products that they use in Africa. And so the product that I'm actually going to talk about specifically from the 54 Thrones today is Beldi. It's their Moroccan body mask. And when I was in Morocco, I went and got a hammam massage, or I think it's called a hammam spa, but a hammam. And basically it's where you go into like a shower, and the person is literally scrubbing you down like with this mitt, and they're scrubbing you down. They wash your hair, they wash your face, they wash your entire body. All you have on in there is like a little paper thin thong. Okay. And so I was like, it was a very new experience for me when I went. And so they scrub you down, and they do it all basically in a steam room shower. So your pores are just opening up. You are just like getting all the moisture, all the dead skin is falling off. Like all the things.
That sounds so nice.
You're literally getting like a whole new set of skin because everything is just coming off. And so this product, Beldi from 54 Thrones, is a Moroccan mask that is from that practice of being in the shower, putting on this mask after you've already started to kind of open up from the steam in the shower. You use the mitt. So they actually have a mitt that you buy in addition to the mask itself. And you do that in the shower as part of your kind of body ritual. And y'all, when I say, and probably a lot of y'all have seen me post about this ritual because I did a whole like body care, like little IGTV video like a few weeks ago. But listen, when I tell you my skin was so baby soft, like all over, I used this body mask all over, even on my face with the mitt, and it is everything. The mask itself is like tacky, like it's almost like a taffy texture. So when you pick it up, it's unlike anything else I've ever really used on my body. And so this idea that, you know, I get to play and try these new products, but they're African beauty rituals, which another thing that I read on their website was that, you know, African beauty is all about simplicity, family, communing together. And I was just like, what? Like, how are we not more aware of these
Why
things?
Aren't we hip to this?
Yes.
My goodness, this sounds amazing.
Oh my gosh. I was like head over heels about this body mask after that. So I've been using this body mask like every 2 to 3 days. Like I am like 100,000%.
Wait, so does it come in like a big jar?
Yes,
or
it comes
like,
in a jar.
Okay.
It's actually a glass black jar, and it's a good amount of product because I think it's like $42 for the jar, but it's a lot of product. So it'll last you a minute because you don't need a lot of it to go a long way. And so that's one thing that I've noticed, like with some body masks, especially because, hey, depending on how much real estate you got to cover, you could be using a lot of product, you know?
Yeah.
But this product is really nice because a little bit can stretch out. It's seriously so different than anything else I've ever used. So if you are looking for some body care products, I used the butters that they have. I've used their actual, it's like a mud mask, detox mask, which is like a charcoal based mask. And then I've used their body serum. Like, y'all, just go to the website, pick a few things out, try it out. But if you're going to choose one thing to start off with, Belle D is the thing.
Yeah, so this week's episode is going to be all about, you know, those moments where we didn't always trust our gut. We didn't always just listen to ourselves and what our heart was telling us to do. And, you know, we might have allowed outside influences to change how we felt about something or a decision we made for ourselves. And when I was thinking about this topic of conversation, I immediately thought about, well, what are some stories that are pretty intense but are easy to share in this forum for Jade and for I. And immediately when I thought of Jade, it reminded me of this chapter of her life where no one knew what the hell she was doing with Lipstick and Curls.
Yeah.
She was a graduate student at a very expensive, you know, institution. She had done all this work, you know, getting her career together and applying to all these different programs and all this stuff, right? But all of a sudden she started to make money from this other thing. And I know our family really didn't understand it. I mean, I think for a while, I was literally the only one that was like supporting you low key.
100%.
And then eventually when you started, quite frankly, I think when you started making like real money, like, you know, 6-figure money, and that was, you know, in the past few years, that's when our family started to like give respect to the decision you made and to not make you feel like you had made the wrong decision. So I just figured, you know, we should talk about that, like how that made you feel, like when you knew in your heart of hearts that you were truly happy doing this thing, but, you know, most of the world didn't understand it.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, it was not that I just like knew like the whole time, like this is going to be the way that I reach success. Like, no, like I didn't know what the future was going to hold either. I just had faith that, you know what, if I'm going to, you know, spend life doing something, I'm going to bet on myself. And there were just constantly little ways that God was saying, like, this is the path that you need to be on. It wasn't some like grandiose moment. Even when I got the Colgate commercial, I had been doing Lipstick and Curls since 2010, and I got that commercial in 2016. So I had been doing Lipstick and Curls for a minute. And even when I got the commercial, which was probably the biggest like sign from God saying like, Jade, keep going. Like, don't give up on this, because you remember that time frame? Like, I was like, I'm about to quit. Like,
yeah, it was a whole, well, because you were literally thinking, you know, the traditional way of thinking about career and what other people were saying, our parents who you obviously love and respect, and like, just, you know, no one else knew the plan. No one else could see it as clearly. And also you, but you knew there was a plan, and then you got the right nudges at the right times to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to be clear about that. Like, it wasn't clear for me at that time. Like, if you're looking for some very specific path for what you truly desire to do in life, you're never going to get it. Like, because what I've learned is that even during that time, I was struggling trying to find that perfect path. I was struggling trying to find somebody to tell me what the next year to 5 years was going to look like for me, because that's how I always envisioned my future beforehand. Like when you're going to school, K through 12 and then college, there's always like these paths, right? Like when you go sign up for your classes or you go choose a major, they tell you, if you take all these classes and you do these things, these are the potential jobs you can get, right? So you start to build the way that you look at the future in that same vein. Like that's at least how I did. I was like, okay, like if I choose this path, then I'm going to get these results. And when it came to Lipstick and Curls, there was no path. There was no like, do this, then you do this, then you'll get here. Like, and that was the scariest part about it, because I personally was okay with it. Like I was a little scared of that, but something in me, the faith in me was like, you know what? This feels right. And at the same time, I didn't know how to articulate that to people, and nobody else could see like what I felt, because I couldn't see it. But I felt it. I felt like I was supposed to continue on with Lipstick and Curls. I felt like God was telling me not to go get a job in higher education, because when I was in my program, if you don't know, I actually got my undergrad at the University of North Texas, and I got my bachelor's in development and family studies, which was a crapshoot major because I just didn't want it to be hard. I wanted to be a Delta in college, which I was and still am. I wanted to party. I wanted to hang out. I wanted to be active in student organizations. I didn't give a damn about my major. So I just chose the easiest thing, School of Education. I already know some of y'all know what I'm talking about, because you get to a point in undergrad where you're like, okay, so my original plan and major ain't gonna work out because I'm not ready to commit to that. So anyway, that's another story for another day. But so I graduate and then I decide, you know, I'm going to go into higher education. So I ended up going to Southern Methodist University and getting my master's in education policy and leadership with a focus in higher education. So a lot of kind of like the overarching view of higher education in America and the world, and, you know, diving into topics like HBCUs versus PWIs and doing research with women's studies and students of marginalized communities. And like I worked in all these places, whatever, right? I did all these things because that was a path that I saw other people doing. And so I had made all these plans to become a VP of student affairs one day. I knew exactly how I was going to get there. I knew exactly how much money I was going to make when I got to each point. I knew that, you know, for 2 to 3 years, I'm going to be here, and then I'm going to have to find a way to get promoted to this position. And then I had all this figured out, right? And at the same time, I'm doing Curls Over Brunch, which was a brunch series that we did in 2014, 2015.
Yeah, 2015.
And I'm literally traveling the country, getting brands to sponsor these brunch events, and just simply fellowshipping and getting to know my subscribers. And what I realized on that journey, in addition to like being at other events, was that I was making an impact in people's lives with my content. Some way, shape, or form, like that was real. And so when I got to a point where in 2016, I got this Colgate commercial, I was also struggling at the time with quitting Lipstick and Curls because I didn't know where it was going to go. And I was like, listen, I have to have a career. Like a career looks like this in my mind at that time. And stepping out on my gut, or what I call my faith, and saying, you know what? I think God wants me to go in a different direction. I don't think God wants me to like follow some path that other people have followed. Like something doesn't feel right there. I feel uncomfortable when I'm put in a box. I feel uncomfortable when I fill in a position that somebody's already done before me. And at the same time, I was getting rejected left and right in that world. I was getting rejected and you know, applying to things, internships, different job opportunities that I just kept getting told no. And I was forcing it. I was like, you know, I'm trying to be a VP of student affairs. Well, Jade, that wasn't right. You weren't like, this is Jade talking to Jade. Like, this is me talking to myself, you know, fast forward. Anyway, y'all understand what I'm saying. But like, I look back now and I'm like, Jade, you had so many closed doors because you weren't supposed to be on that path. And so I say all that to say, like, yes, that time frame especially was just so hard because I had to decide if I was going to get a job when I graduated in the spring. If I didn't get a job, you know, even when I did initially decide to not get a job and just focus on lipstick and curls, I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent. Like, I had some brand deals coming in, but nothing that was like outside of the Colgate opportunity. I wasn't making buku money. I was making enough to where I could pay my rent. And I just knew that God was going to provide me enough money for me to eat. That's all I had at that time. Like, that was it. But that was all I needed because God came through, like, almost immediately after I decided to take the plunge and really give Lipstick and Curls my 100% attention. When I did that, everything in my life changed completely.
And I think like that's the big part about this idea of trusting your gut, or like you said, trusting in faith, is it's not always super clear, but you can at least know that you're feeling uncomfortable. You at least know that something feels right. You at least know something feels wrong. You may not get all the details in between, which is something I struggle with because I like details. I like structure. I like to know what's going on. And if that doesn't happen, then I start making my own plans, and then that thing doesn't work out either. But I think like this general idea of like, if something inside of you is telling you to do something or not do something, or like hold on, or like push a little bit more, like you need to be listening to those little voices. And I know for me, it took a while to trust those little voices and know that everything was going to be okay in the end. It takes, I think, some life experiences to get to the point where like you trust that a closed door is the pathway to like redirect you into your bigger purpose.
And that it's a positive thing.
Yeah. But like you have to have, I think, some lived experiences to really internalize that. And so, you know, Jade and I can talk all day about how we can trust in our gut now. We're this and we're that. But it did take some moments of us not doing that, not trusting it, you know, not believing in ourselves to get to that point. And so I think for people who are struggling with that, like, I feel this way, but I don't know I don't really know how to explain it. I don't, just like, ride that wave out for a little bit. See what that is really trying to tell you, because it is trying to tell you something.
Right.
Like anytime you have like an emotional reaction to something, you have to acknowledge it. Like there's so many times where like even at work, like in like an office setting, corporate setting, you know, something would be said or some like weird thing would happen, AKA microaggressions would happen at work, and I would feel some type of way, but you can't really tell why, or you feel like things are just uneasy or something seems off. 9 times out of 10, actually, I'll go out and, well, 9 times out of 10 is probably true, because sometimes you feel weird and you don't know what it is and it could have nothing to do with it. But most of the time, if you're having an interaction with someone, especially at work or in a more like, you know, day to day, there's set expectations, but then something outside of those expectations happens and you do emotionally react to it, like there's something there. And it's the same way with your gut. If something is in there telling you, you know, keep doing this or don't do that, or like you simply have more joy in your day when you do certain activities, you should be leaning into that.
Yes.
You may not have the full details of it, but you should be leaning into whatever that thing is that like you're most excited about at work. You know, I have an example of when I was coaching a team at Capital One, and, you know, there are different styles of leadership that, you know, you'll find yourself in as you get more mature and you start to decide what kind of leader you'll be. And at my office, there was a very particular style of leadership because a lot of the people had been sort of classically trained in management the same way. So they all like started together. They all sort of rose up the ranks together. And so there was a particular style of how to manage that they all, you know, pursued. And it was a good one. But it didn't necessarily work for me. And so I found myself always wanting to do less of the like raw in front of a big crowd move as leadership to motivate people. And I loved like sitting down with one person and helping them sign up for classes to finish their degree, or helping them figure out how to make sure that their daycare was set up right and they got off, even if it was 3 hours earlier to get to the ballet, or sitting down with them and talking about, whatever it is. But I was much more into the like fewer, deeper relationships and motivating that way than I was to like, entertain a crowd and to get a crowd ready for the next big goal or whatever. I just found that to be the thing. But I had to figure that out, right? Because I was starting to get less points, I guess, per se, for my leadership style, because it didn't match the sort of broader culture of that space. But I recognized that like I got more excited about those deeper relationships. I got more excited about talking about, smaller group goal setting and smaller, more specific things, and catering those different motivational moments to a person and not just like the blanketed thing for a team.
Right.
And so, over time I figured that out, right? And I leaned more into that. And then that like more individualistic approach pushed me into building more connections and relationships outside of just that role, and eventually led me to a role that led me to Wharton. So it's just, you can't really tell why you feel happier or more fulfilled in certain activities, because sometimes it's even activities within your current job, activities within your current role at home, whatever that is. But don't ignore that you're happier, or it comes easier, or you procrastinate on other things to do that thing.
Right.
Like I will literally be on YouTube or like spend 3.5 hours straight looking at Airbnbs for the next trip we're going to take.
Right.
Because because in another life, I probably should have been a travel agent. I probably should have been, setting up itineraries, because now people want my itineraries for these trips that we take. And like, Jade, I set up our whole Paris, London.
100%.
Where else did we go? Trip, had a whole brochure.
Yep.
It was colorful. It had photos.
You did. I actually forgot about it. You did a whole brochure.
Yes,
for that trip.
I did. For a family trip, okay? And I enjoyed it, okay? So I made this whole beautiful brochure, and I loved setting it up, and I loved doing all of that. Now, granted, that was kind of a tangent of me leaning into something that I loved, but if I wasn't at Wharton, or quite frankly, who knows, Wharton could be a pathway to me starting my own travel, empire in 10 years. But I don't know that yet, right? Like, you're just doing the things day to day that, one, make you happy, or two, you're building a skill, investing in yourself, whatever. And so I think like all of the different moments, even, like you, Jade, you went to SMU, you got this degree, and granted, did you go get a job in higher ed? No, but 100% the skills you built in teaching and leaning into people and your leadership skills are what makes you great on YouTube, what makes you great in these panels, discussions, and all of that. So it's like, even though it's not a direct tie right away, if you're doing something in the moment that's like makes you happy, or like I said, like builds a skill that you want, then you're golden, even if they're not directly linked right away.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say that, it's a real thing to be in a place that Simone and I are at, and to say these things, because we are in places of privilege. I just want to put that out there.
100%.
Like, we recognize that many people cannot choose careers out of what they like to do, but out of necessity. Like, you have bills to pay, you have kids to feed, you have family to take care of, whatever that situation is. And what I want to add to this conversation in this moment right now is just that the bigger like message of this is that no matter what stage in life you're at, whether you have $2 in your account or 2 million, is you have to trust your gut and know that like you have to show up and give your all to wherever you're at. So whether you are working at Burger King and you're working a cashier like position, you need to be the best cashier you can possibly be. You need to be talking and building up those communication skills, building up those sales skills, because that's one thing that the food industry, fast food, working in retail, like the ability to just walk up and talk to people, or the ability to like sell something is huge.
Yep.
That is such a big
Yep.
skill set to have. And if you can sell somebody, you know, instead of them getting the one t-shirt, you sell them a whole outfit. That's ingenuity. That is
Yep.
like major. And in the moment, it may seem like, oh, I'm just trying to, you know, do my job. Well, no, it's not just about doing your job. It's about showing God that like you're ready, like whatever position that you're put in, like you're going to try to be your best. And again, because we can't see the future and, you know, we make plans and God laughs at them. That's why we have to be aware of like where we're at in the moment and what we're doing today.
Yep.
And not be so worried about, well, what am I doing today that's going to help me get to where I want to be? It's not always about that, because while you stressed out about trying to achieve some goal that you have in mind, God could want something else totally different for you. Like there could be something else totally different for you that's so much more your vibe and your speed. But because you're so focused on making this one thing happen, you can't even give room for something better to happen. And so I say that because I was so gung-ho on being an administrator in higher education. I did all the research. I went above and beyond in so many different ways. And if I would have let it, I could be sitting here saying it was a waste of time because I'm not a VP of student affairs or I'm not on that path anymore. But I'm not, because guess what, y'all? To Simone's point, what I learned being in grad school at the institutions that I was at, I learned so much that has come into how I am as the leader of my tribe, which is being Lipstick and Curls of the platform. Because, you know, a lot of influencers don't see themselves as leaders. They don't see themselves as, you know, the president of the club or the orientation leader of the group. But like, that's how I see it. Like, I see it like I'm a student affairs administrator trying to, you know, give my students resources and give my students my time and my energy and mentor to them and be a listening ear and be a part of their journey. And like all those things that I did with students and wanted to do in higher ed, even speaking specifically to wanting to work with women and students of color, like, do y'all know my demos? Like my platform, my audience is 82% Black women. 82%. So it's like I started looking at that even after I got out of grad school, because I had moments where I was like, well, that was a waste of time, because at the beginning when I didn't get a job and I was, you know, still kind of believed that I was supposed to be LipsticknCurls full time, but I still had my moments where I was like, did I make the right choice? Like, is this what I'm really supposed to be doing? What am I going to do in 5 years? Like, I'm going to be doing this in 5 years? How is that even possible? Fact check. It's 5 years later, or about to be 5 years later, and I'm still out here like doing so much better than I could have ever imagined. But back to the point, like, I had my own moments of doubt, but it all ended up playing into everything that I needed to be in order to be the best version of Jade that I possibly can be, so that I can actually speak to my audience in a real way that's actually tapped into what's going on politically in our country, what's going on racially in our country, what's going on just geographically, what's going on with, you know, climate and what people are going through with this pandemic. Like being able to have a level of empathy and understanding that a lot of other influencers aren't tapping into because they didn't have my life experiences. But I could be out here saying my grad school experience was a waste of time, but it wasn't. So that's what we're trying to really convey to you all is, no matter where you're at, you're there for a reason. You're supposed to get something out of it. And it may not make sense at the time. It may feel very, very far away from where you would actually like to be. But that's why you got to have your meditation time, your prayer time, whatever that quiet time is for you, where you just sit down. Stop trying to do all the planning by yourself. Stop trying to control every situation by yourself and actually ask God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, the higher being, and ask, what am I supposed to do? Somehow, some way, I know I can be happy in this life. I can be more than I am right now. But you know what? I need some help. I need some guidance. I need some, showing some humility to recognizing that like we are not in control. Like we're really not in control of so many things that we think we are in control of, including our careers, including, our place in our family life or our positions as spouses, whatever. Like I have to know, even as a wife, I have to know that I can't change my husband. Like if there are things that he does that I don't like, I can't change a grown man. But what I can do is look at myself and say, what is it in me that I can work on to make this situation better, whatever it may be. And so it's like in every facet of life, not just your career, because I know we're talking about like career stuff, but as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, as a sister, how are you showing up and being like a real light in people's lives, but taking advantage of wherever you're at and saying, maybe this isn't where I want to end up, but I know that this is part of my journey. So I'm going to embrace it and ride this thing out until the next chapter comes.
Yeah. And Jade, what that's called, other than having faith, it's called having a growth mindset. And so there's an actual term. Yeah. So
what? I didn't know that.
Yes. So
but I've heard the term before.
Yes.
But I don't know what that there's like things about like how So go ahead.
Yeah. So you'd be surprised at how many people, like researchers and academics, have actually like gone deep into a lot of these topics. And so I won't belabor the point about growth mindset. I feel like Jade and I have both described it in this podcast in different ways. And I would say in a vernacular that we all understand and like get. But if you want to go the extra mile and really like think through what this means for you, you should absolutely go check out the growth mindset. There's a lot of different books about it. There's ones written for kids, written for women specifically, but the idea of having a growth mindset in life where whatever you go through is a learning moment. Nothing is a failure. Nothing is done for no reason. You sort of take every single scenario you're in, learn something from it, and keep growing. And unless you have a growth mindset, you will be stuck in whatever moment or level of knowledge you have today. So that's y'all's homework for the next podcast episode. Y'all need to go read a little bit on growth mindset. Try to find a way to internalize it for your own life. I guarantee you will not regret the time spent on figuring out if you have a growth mindset or not. Give yourself a pat on the back if you already do, because that's probably why you're successful today. But if you find yourself in a fixed mindset, which is essentially the opposite, which is, you're kind of stuck in this place. Someone gave you some shitty feedback you don't agree with, but now all of a sudden you're sort of stuck on this idea that like you're not good at math and you'll never be good at math. But what a growth mindset does is tells you that you can actually learn anything. So what do you need to do in order to learn quote unquote math to get to the goal that you want to attain? Because it really doesn't matter about math, right? Math is a pathway to becoming an analyst, becoming an engineer, hitting whatever goal you want to get into life. But like realizing that the different moments in your life experiences, things happen, you can absolutely grow from them. You can absolutely learn from anything, and you can learn to do anything other than maybe sing. Like that's one of those things you just can't learn. But you can learn math, okay? The analogy still holds. But that is y'all's homework. And maybe we can talk more about that next time.
But even to build off of that analogy, Simone, it's like maybe math ain't what you're supposed to be focusing your energy on. Like maybe you're supposed to be focusing on something else. Like that's my thing. It's just like, if you feel like you're forcing something, like genuinely, and we all know the difference between pushing yourself because you know that you should be doing something, but it's hard, but you keep going, versus you're forcing something and you start to think, well, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Now the math might be a bad connection to that, because math is like a part of the course, right? Like you need to know some level of math to do literally anything, to be financially stable.
For sure.
But to Jade's point, I think it's like, don't try to be a singer if really your mindset and your best self is writing the song, right? Like just lean into the thing that like you feel like you have the most impact on, you feel the happiest doing, and it actually is going to sustain you as an adult in society. But you decide, you know, when that point is, or like you decide to sing in the church, but not necessarily make that your end all be all career. Like, but there's conscious decisions you can make, and go from there. But just recognizing that every moment in life, every shitty job is a moment to learn and grow and take some sort of transferable skill to push you into the next chapter of your life.
So as always, we hope that you gained something from this episode, from our experiences. We definitely want to hear feedback from you all if you've been through a similar situation, because listen, I love hearing people's testimonies, especially when it comes to stuff like this, where it was like you had to take a leap of faith and it worked out, you know, because I think we hear a lot of, or maybe it's not just we hear a lot of, but I know for me, I definitely always my mind goes to like worst case scenario always. So it's like, if this thing doesn't work out, I'm going to be homeless on the street. Like I automatically go there.
My God.
And so I think it's important for us, you know, as a community, as the Twinsetters crew, to share our moments, you know, big or small, of when you decided to actually take that leap of faith, actually trust your gut and go for something. And tell us about it. Tell us about what it was like for you, and how it changed the way that you perceive yourself, perceive the world, whatever that may be. We'd love to hear that, and just continue the dialogue, because this is one of those things where it's definitely a process. It's definitely like you need to have multiple conversations. You need to have multiple moments to really dive in deep into like what this actually means for you on a real level, and then make the decision. Like, are you going to start thinking differently about how you look at what you bring to the table, what your purpose is, all that kind of stuff. So again, we hope that you enjoyed this episode. We definitely enjoyed it. We could talk about this type of stuff all day long. But we sincerely appreciate you spending time with us today. And until the next episode, we will chat with y'all later. Bye.
Bye, y'all.